Hello everybody, good evening and welcome into DogZone, where we look forward to Sunday afternoon and the running of heats of the Auckland Cup. 5 of those, also 5 heats of the qualified Pet Services Railway as well over the sprint journey there. So going to be an absolute ripper of a day, 10 really good races and the best of the best going around. Joining us as usual on the show is Mark Rozanowski. Rozo, as we head to you, 10 of the best races you will see going around that we have to offer, and some really good clashes, probably headed up by the clash of Bolty v Buddy Boom, of course the Quinella out of the Galaxy.
Yes, it was, Andy, and I'd rather see that in the railway final than them clash in the heat and potentially have one or both of them miss out. That's the way it's fallen, though, and we're going to get to experience that race, hopefully another match race similar to Christchurch on Sunday afternoon in the heats, and I desperately hope that they are both to get through. Of course, neither of them have had the ideal smooth racing preparation through to this. Andy, big stakes. Group 1 status, and it has meant that people from around the country have been prepared to travel for this. Makes it tough to try and find a winner in the futures markets. From a purist perspective, though, these should be 2 cracking Group 1s over the next couple of Sundays.
Yeah, certainly going to be outstanding, no doubt about that. In terms of the futures market, let's first have a look at the Auckland Cup. Favourite for it is one of the locals, Penny Mac, $7.50. The Roberts Trio in behind that. Dinah Dave, Osterbale, Uthabale, all at $9 a piece. Rozo, the favourite, hasn't been seen since the end of November, so coming into this very fresh, but we know he's a class act.
Exactly, Andy, and having spoken with Steve Clark a couple of weeks ago, he said, look, it's a similar preparation to what he did leading into the New Zealand Cup, which he won, which was 2 starts ago now. He has been longer away from the races leading into the heat than he was for that particular series. Andy, this is a market where I'd say to people, look, almost go with your heart, because I think you can put a knock on every single dog. The good thing for Penny Mac is that he looks to be in the right heat. And of course he ran 3rd in the final last year, but there's a number of leading contenders, Andy, who haven't been on the track, and some of them haven't drawn that well either. And with it being the 5 winners and the 3 fastest seconds to get through, it's pretty cutthroat. You don't really get a second crack at it, so to speak. So yeah, I think that makes it tough to bet with conviction into the futures markets, but it's very open, and like I say, you shouldn't really bet with your heart. It leads to financial ruin, but in this instance, if you want to have a wee flick at the futures, I don't think it'd be a bad thing.
Yeah, certainly is even. Many chances, as you say, and the top 3 market out as well. Both of those available on tab.co.nz. Let's dive into the first of the 5 heats. This will be race number 6 on the card on Sunday, set to get underway at 2:59. Headed up by Zabel Bale for Craig Roberts, making the trip up. Spring Falcon from the Fahey Barn on its way up as well. And ringside, the Southerners certainly look to have an advantage in heat number 1 here, Rozo, as we take a look at ringside out of the Ray Adcock Barn. This is him winning at Auckland, getting the job done from the black rug.
Andy, this is an Auckland Cup heat last year, and people might look at it and say, well, okay, what's the relevance of this? 12 months is a long time in greyhound racing. Well, look, it is, but look, of the Southern visitors, there are a few that have got some form on the track, and Ringside is one of them. Of course, he very nearly won the final. He got picked up late by Diddley. Here, he's beating Penny Mac and Dinah Dave. Penny Mac was 3rd in the final last year, and Dinah Dave ran the fastest time of the day on the final day in the invitation. So I think this does have some relevance, and the other thing, Andy, here is that Ringside comes in some pretty sharp form. He's beaten Osterbale on the home track at Addington 3 starts back, and he's travelled to the Manawa 2 and won first up on the track there. Ray Adcock's got him in good shape. I think he gets a heat where he can be very competitive. Andy, my questions to you. Zabel Bale off a 3rd in the Group 1 St Leger, very exciting young bitch on the rise. And Spring Falcon draws out in 7 after recently time trialling at Manawa 2. What chance do you give them first up of going around Manukau and being able to find their way into this final?
Certainly question marks around both of them. Obviously Zabel Bale, a very talented greyhound, but the question, we've only ever seen her race around Addington Raceway so far, so it's her first big trip away from home, first time across on the boat, first time seeing anywhere but Addington, and we know the silent lure that Auckland has that can trip 1 or 2 of them up, so some big question marks around her. Spring Falcon comes up with a wide draw. We know he has been vulnerable from them in the past. He needs a little bit of luck into the first corner. We know he's a greyhound who can overcome bad luck, though. He's got a really strong finish on him, so that if he can get just an ounce of luck around the first corner, Rozzo, he'll certainly be powering home stronger than most.
I see Rod's 20 to 1 for the final. He's had 5 misses, including running last in the Waterloo Cup. Andy, Gold Star Mooney off the inside at least gets a draw to work with. A possible qualifier at outside odds?
He's certainly a talented type, Gold Star Mooney. There's no doubting his ability. It's his toughest test to date for him. He's been able to clock some handy times around Addington, and as you say, he comes up with a draw he can use. He's a dead set railer. He won't leave the fence, even having his first look at Auckland, so he certainly gets his chance, and it appears to be a heat that the Southerners should be able to dominate in the first of those. Right, on to the second of the heats. This will be race number 7 on the card. It'll get underway at 3:18. Spring Queen, relative youngster, comes up with box number 1. Dinah Dave, Pills Are Us. Rozzo, this heat appears to be a little bit more even.
Oh, this is pretty competitive, Andy, with Dinah Dave still in search of that elusive Group 1. As I say, didn't make the final last year, but he did win the invitation on final day, and the fastest time of the day, he ran 30:20, and it was off the outside there in the pink as well. He's been second in the Waterloo Cup here. The last time he was on this track in October behind Robson. He's won an Auckland Cup heat in 30:29. That's 2 years ago, Andy. That's the resilience and ability of this dog. I'd love to see him get in. Some speed in box 6 though with Big Time Ocean first on the track. Some speed in box 8 with Pearls Are Us first up on the track as well. Yes, Dinah Dave, he can do pretty much anything bar win a Group 1 it seems. I'd love to see him get through. Speaking of Group 1, well, winners, not a winner in Dinah Dave's sense, but Diddley's won 2, including last year's Auckland Cup. Andy, I thought it was worth going back to look at this. Look, he doesn't come into this in prime condition. He hasn't been racing. He had a time trial at Manawatu on Monday, 26 and 22. Look, that was probably okay and something to work with, but it doesn't scream, I'm going to back up and win another Auckland Cup. This was an interesting finish here. It looked like Ringside was probably going to win it, and Diddley comes blasting through in the blue rug, and that's Penny Mac out wide running third. At least he draws box number 2, Diddley. He'd be better for the run if he could somehow get through to the final, Andy, but it's going to be very tough for him to do that. Andy, we're about to have a look at another Central Districts dog in Big Time Bruno. Now, this is him winning a quite extraordinary hat-trick classic at Group 1 level recently in a blanket finish, and another eye-catcher to watch here is Dinah Dave in the gold rug late in the piece. Andy, I can't say that I've been taken with Big Time Bruno since. His 4th last week was at least in a fast time. The week before he'd been just a bit average, so I'm not sure about Bruno going into this. Again, first up on the track for him.
He's a hard greyhound to follow, isn't he? He was just in okay form leading into the Hat-Trick Classic series as well, and he was able to find form at the right time. He certainly needs to improve on the last couple of years to be competitive here, and obviously with it winner guaranteed to go through in fastest 3 seconds. It's pretty cutthroat, and you would think he needs to improve a little, but it's probably hard to see him making his way through to this final, to be fair. Let's now have a look at Big Time Ocean, kennel mate to Bruno, obviously. This is her getting the job done off the black and white stripes of box number 2. Rozzo, a greyhound with a ton of early speed. She will need to be in front, and clearly in front, because she can get run over late.
That's certainly what you're betting on or against, Andy, isn't it? Is can she pick the jump at Manukau like she can with the noisy wire rope lure at Wanganui? It's very quiet at Auckland. That's why they don't start races when there's a jet going overhead going to Auckland Airport. Sense of timing about her, though, Andy, I've got to say, 30:05 last week, and we recall Big Time Cooper, a dog running sort of similar splits to Big Time Ocean, who's come out with a 489 here, and Cooper went up to Auckland and ran 4th in the Waterloo Cup first time up there. She's going to need to fly quite clearly, but she's got that ability, I think, too, and out of front's going to be out of trouble. There will be a bit of drama in this particular race. Andy, I think we're going to have a look at Pearls Are Us. She's got a stack of speed. She's from down your way. And the other dog we probably need to mention in this race is Sakichi, because every time Sakichi's been to Manukau, has pretty much delivered the goods. But Pearls Are Us, we had Gary Cleve on last week talking about her. Again, a greyhound with high speed, but first up at Manukau. How do you think she'll go?
I think she comes up with the ideal draw to work with. She's a very comfortable greyhound wide on the track when she gets some space. Of course, 2 starts ago, broke the 30-second barrier when drawing out in the pink rag. Next up wasn't behind Osterbale. The run was okay. Yeah, some question marks around what she was doing on the home turn though, but Osterbale was to her outside, which you would think she should be having nothing to her outside here. I think she's capable of making her way through to this final, to be fair, and if I was having a 1/3 type bet in the final, it would probably be on her because she draws perfectly in her heat. So a fast greyhound if she can cop Auckland. Yeah, I think she's a pretty serious chance for this final. Right, let's move on to heat number 3. This will be race number 8 on the card. Grunt comes up with box number 1 after winning the Manukau Cup at his last start. Big Time Izzy, Big Time Shadow there. We've got Opal with Toddy, No Refusal. And Osterbale comes up with the outside. Let's have a look at Grunt. This is him in the white rug here, box number 3. Gets to the early lead and wins the Manukau Cup. This was his last start on Sunday. Good effort from him. Rozzo comes up with a good draw to work with, and he'll follow the fence the whole way around.
Yeah, Andy, I thought we should probably look at this race, being the Manukau Cup and the local dogs having a final shakedown for this. Wayne and Tracy doing a really good job with Grunt, and they come up with a draw, and I think the right field to an extent too, Andy. I don't think that he will be able to qualify here, but it's a nice shakedown for him. And I guess with all of the other dogs that might be tighter in the market than Grunt is, you can probably come up with a knock on them because they haven't been at the track or they haven't been in their very best form. So Grunt gets an opportunity purely, I think, because of the draw and the heat. And I'll tell you what, that previous heat, man, that's going to be a crusher to qualify. And okay, Andy, we better have a look at Osterbale from down your way. Obviously, I'm a big fan of the dog, but he can also find a few problems in his racing. But he beats Pilser Us here. A Power Nat's in here as well, and No Refusal too. So I guess as a final shakedown for the Auckland Cup, probably about as good as you could manage.
Yeah, he's a talented greyhound, there's no doubt about that. Question marks for me around the silent lure, but I think he comes up with an ideal draw first up on the track. He should be able to circle around them if he does blow the stake. You just see Pilser Us on the home turn there. I'm not sure what she was up to, but certainly more comfortable, wider on the track. There's no doubt about that. So I think he comes up with a draw to use Osterbale, and another of the Southerners is No Refusal. At least he has a little bit of track experience. He's second up from a spell, so he should have come forward from that run as well, and the wide draw certainly right up his alley. Right, next, let's move on to the next heat now. It will be race number 9 on the card. Heat number 4. Old Avenger Bale, he's back, comes up with box number 1. We've got the favourite Penny Mac who comes up with the pink, and Rozzo a fair bit of speed to his inside.
Yes, this is an interesting race, drawn outside Big Time Elsa. Hey Fernando obviously with speed. Big Time Seth was 5th in the Waterloo Cup up there, and I thought a bit stiff too, ran onto the heels of Big Time Cooper in that. Amazing to see Avenger Bale in there, 5th last year after a 30-30 heat win. And of course ran 7th 2 years ago behind Dirk Bale after a fastest heat win. But Penny Mac, Andy, here we are, 7.5 futures odds favourite, but of course we're talking about a dog that we're not seeing a lot of. He doesn't race a great deal. He goes pretty much from big race to big race, and he's got a couple of those in his bag with the Waterloo Cup on the home track at Manukau, and of course the New Zealand Cup back in November. Dinah Dave into 2nd, one of his famous Group 1 seconds, and Start the Show into 3rd. Andy, look, if it's any other dog, I think you'd have 3 question marks next to his name, but because it's Penny Mac, and because he was quite fresh going into the New Zealand Cup Series as well, because he ran 3rd in this race last year, and I think he gets the right heat as well, I do rate Penny Mac as a chance of winning his 3rd Group 1.
He certainly looks a chance, there's no doubt about that, and Steve certainly knows how to get him to the races in a fresh state as well. He's a greyhound with early burn, and he doesn't have to travel, which is a big plus for him as well going into this heat, but there is a fair bit of speed to his inside, so he will need to be on his A game, but we know he's capable of doing that. Right, let's move on to the last of the heats. It is heat number 5. This will be race number 10 at 4:14. Robson comes up with box number 7. Uther Bale for Craig comes up with box number 1, which isn't ideal for him, although he was beaten a small margin at his last start in a Group 1 from that inside draw. Let's take you back to have a look at Robson. This is him winning the Waterloo Cup final. You're looking for the dog and the gold rug here of box number 5. Rozzo, this is the best form of Robson, and a form of him we haven't seen for some time. Gee, the way he's racing at the moment, it's really hard to be tipping him in a Group 1.
It is, Andy. I did think he was slightly better last time. His last 4 have been at Cambridge after he ran a 6-length third to Sakichi and Kiwi Gal here. His last win was a New Zealand Cup heat 10 starts ago. I'm not prepared to rule him out, and particularly in this particular race. He's drawn outside some speed in Melita Valor, if she can pick it first up on the track there. M Grand Park to the outside. Well, Robson's not the quickest off the lids, as we know, and nor's M Grand Park, but M Grand Park will lean in. I think it's the right sort of race for Robson. Slightly better last time, knowing his quality. As I say, I'm not prepared to rule him out. I've put him in second here, Andy, behind Melita Valor. If she catches the start here, I think she could be quite lethal. M Grand Park, well, I did let out a silent scream when he drew box 8, because if he'd drawn close in here, I thought he'd be a real chance of making it through after that very fast trial on Monday at the Manawa 2 and a 25 and 78 to go top of the Golden Chase leaderboard. And yep, Youtha Bale, well, you mentioned it, box number 1 again. Awkward from there, but also has been going okay from there. So nearly won a Group 1 from their last start. Again, pretty open affair this, Andy. Your thoughts?
It's very even. I'm not a fan of Youtha when he draws inside, as you well know, but he does get a little bit of room here with big time Maple to his outside in the 3, which will give him a little bit of space. And a bit like Robson, he probably won't be in that early burn. So if there is some trouble in front of him, he does seem to have a little bit of a brain to miss that. And with plenty of strength on his side, as we know, he looks a chance of avoiding that and making his way through. So certainly an interesting heat. And come the last, it will be certainly interesting to see who makes their way through. Right, let's move on to the other Group 1, 5 heats of the Qualified Pet Services Railway. The first of the heats will be race number 1 at 1:31 on Sunday. Futures market for it, Trojan Horse at $4.50 is the favourite. Balti and Buddy Boom both at 6, and Select Trick, the Southerner, $7.50. Rosso, Trojan Horse, $4.50. I actually thought there was a backable price around him. He comes up with the red, and for mine, he looks about the only almost guaranteed qualifier, if there is such a thing in greyhound racing.
Yeah, look, I totally agree with you, Andy. He's right in the zone, and he has dead-headed for a win with Ashen on the track before. He's travelling everywhere at the moment over the short courses, and yeah, doing a great job. It's there's just no knock on him at all, and he's in the right heat, as you say, in the right draw to get through comfortably, you would think. With Balti and Buddy Boom, the other 2 chances that sort of immediately spring to mind are being in the same heat. Slight question marks about their preparation and how they'll get off the lids. I'm with you on Trojan Horse. 4.5, I think, is a backable futures favourite there.
Certainly looks it, and I thought maybe a bit of value around a dog like Carbon Tiger, who's been racing really well around Auckland. Certainly knows the place like the back of his paw, and $18 the price on him, backable on a 1/3, 1/4 type basis there as well. Right, let's move on to heat number 1. As I said, it will be race number 1 on the card, 1:31. The racing gets underway there. Captain Kev comes up with box 3. Big Time Pluto, who's been flying of late in the CD, comes up with box 5, and the Southerner Select Trick with box number 6. Let you take you back to have a look at Select Trick. Callum Ware trips her up. He knows how to win a railway as well. Of course, the GOAT victorious in one a year or 2 ago. Here she is, Rosso at her best, leaguing to the lead, breaking 17 seconds. And if she brings this form first up to Auckland, she should be making her way through to the final.
Yes, this was outstanding, wasn't it? And look, Galaxy Heat and Semi ran fast there, an unlucky 7th in the final. This outstanding time here. Races in the Harding Cup on Thursday, so another race before Sunday. 5:76 lead up here, quite breathtaking. It is really about Select Trick, taking the trick at the start. We're talking about Carbon Tiger, Buddy Boom, that Captain Coote's last cigar litter. And if things went well, they could actually fill half the places in this railway final, and Captain Kev, I think, is a legitimate chance in here. Angela Turmoil's got a new dog who I haven't seen trial. Toka Madeira did recently requalify, though, at Hat-Trick. Does have times at Richmond around the same time, but not the same night, that compare favourably with Highland Vintage, who is fresh up into this series in New Zealand for Peter Ferguson.
Heat number 2 will be the second event on Sunday. This one's set to get underway at 1:49. Opawa Oscar, well drawn in box number 1. Sevi from box number 6. Again, the Southerners look like they could dominate this. Let's take you back to have a look at Sevi. This is him winning at Ascot Park on Tuesday. Gets the job done here from box number 2, the black and white stripes. Rosso, we know how fast he is. He consistently puts in blistering times to the back mark at Addington when he's over the 500 metre journey, and it looks as if the 3:18's right up his alley.
got an amazing record, and because he's got a kennelmate called Bolty who's taken a lot of attention, it's easy to overlook Sevi and his record, 18 starts, 10 wins, 7 minor placings, and the only time out of the money, 4th in a New Zealand St Ledger heat. It reads pretty well, doesn't it, Andy? Just the 2 short course sprints, both 390 metres at Ascot. We know he's got high speed, but Andy, you think 318 at Monaco, he can go with the very best?
I think he's fast enough too. I think the question around him in this heat is clearing suspicious minds from his outside, who does like to get across to the fence. So some little concern there, I guess. But I think he's fast enough, and the times he puts in around Addington certainly would suggest he can sprint with the very best of them. Thought the One Dog was well drawn here as well. Opawa Oscar been racing at the top level at Addington in very good form, and Ashen will certainly give him plenty of room, and he looks at a playable price as well. Right, let's move on to the third of the heats. This will be race number 3 on the card at 2:06. Sir Dougie, the old boy, comes up with box number 1. Ulissa bailed up for Craig Roberts, Archie John Hill up for the Fahey team, and some locals there with Miss Claude and Cameo Sid. Let's have a look at Archie John Hill. This is him getting the job done at Addington Raceway. You're looking for the dog in the black rug here of box number 7. Rosso, he's a dog who's not fast early. He mapped to win this race with railers drawn to his inside. Does need a little bit of luck early on.
Yeah, he does. He's one of those dogs, got a couple of question marks there, but clearly the ability, and you've just got to take the punt that he's going to get it right first up there on the track, Archie John Hill. Andy, we've got Sir Dougie through along the inside. Now, look, he's nearly 5. Clearly at hat-trick now, he's not quite the same dog. He's doing his very best. We thought he'd win it last year. He ended up finishing 7th, pulled up with a bad hip injury after winning a heat in 1823. Another win on the track in 1824. But the fact of the matter is he isn't able to run that fast anymore. And he one I'd throw out there, dog I'll have on top in that race is the 5, Cheese and Chalk, a racing series winner on that particular track and a brother to Trojan Horse.
Let's move on to the 4th heat. It will be race number 4 on the card. This one's set to get underway at 2:24. Buddy Boom and Bolty going to war, the Southern Sprint Sensation versus the Northern Sprint Sensation. And we saw these two go to war in the Galaxy around here at Addington, and we'll bring you footage of that to have a look at. Buddy Boom was able to come out victorious, only just over Bolty, but Rosso. Very easy to see how it could go the other way. Buddy Boom with the aid of racing on his home track here, but Bolty coming into this slightly fresh.
Yes, and I'm going to take the chance that Bolty picks it there and really puts it to them. And Buddy Boom, well, I've just got the utmost respect for dog and kennel. I just desperately hope they both get through. That's my biggest wish for Sunday. Andy, I don't really care about how I go on the punt. I want these 2 dogs in the final. That's the sort of story I want to see. And Trojan Horse there as well. And then we throw in Select Trick and whoever else can make it. It's going to make for a cracking final. And it'll be a really good short course race. Could be one of the season. And that's hard to say given how good a race that Galaxy was.
Yeah, certainly is. Let's move on to the last of the heats. This will be race number 5, and it heads up by your favourite for the final, Trojan Horse. Comes up with box number 1. He's absolutely flying of late. Draws perfectly. The 2 and the 3 won't put any pressure on him, and he looks like he should be making his way through to the final. Let's have a look at Trojan Horse. This is him winning at Monaco. You're looking for the dog in the pink rug here of box number 8. Rosso draws perfectly. Wide runners outside of him. He should just be making his way through to this final, to be fair.
Yeah, it looks good, Andy, and that's why we're saying 4.5, even though a pronounced futures favourite. With dogs as good as Bolty and Buddy Boom in there, this is the dog that we expect to be there come next Sunday, and then you're going to go 4.5. Yeah, nice. And the way he's going, look, Andy, last 14 sprints that he's had, short course sprints, he's won 13 of them on a variety of tracks. And the one he didn't win, he had absolutely no right to stand up and qualify for the racing series. He got absolutely barreled into the rail by a hard railer. And he managed to stand up, run 3rd and win the final the following week. He's won the Group 2 Dash for Cash, the Dennis Cole Memorial in this run. Carbon Tiger, a definite player though, Andy, again from this Captain Coots La Cigale. What a short course litter this is. And he's a very good chance, I think, of running 2nd if we expect Trojan Horse to win. And if he beats Trojan Horse, obviously that's great. But if he doesn't, then I think he's a very good chance to be one of the 3 fastest seconds, make his way through to the final and potentially get a slice.
Yeah, he certainly looks a big player, does Carbon Tiger. Again, a shame he has struck Trojan Horse. It would have been good to see them separated as well. And gee, we would have had a final if those 4 or 5 could certainly have made their way through. Right, let's have a look forward to Thursday night at Addington, the Harding Cup to take place there, as well as the Flair Ladies Bracelet. Here's a look at the field for the Harding Cup, where we see Select Trick, who is going around as a $2.30 favourite for it. She won her heat, Rosso, in a sub-17 second gallop, and to be fair, it would appear that only bad luck beats her.
I think so. Quite happy to take that, Andy. And really, this is about you looking through that form, because I do believe that Select Trick just stands out to a casual observer with me looking from afar. And a lot of the dogs down there at Greyhounds who, if they pick the jump, can get a piece of this, Andy, and good luck with Golden Bay there off the inside. But it really is a case of a whole lot of dogs, I think, in a clump in terms of what they can do. But Select Trick with that real X factor, 16.95 last week flying, and I do believe that she'll win this and then head up to Manukau with a very real chance in the railway.
Yeah, certainly looks her race to lose. There's no doubt about that. That last start was good. She was beaten a couple of starts ago, 2 starts ago, by Hilton for a bet when she wouldn't go underneath her on the home turn, and things went horribly wrong for her. But if you take away that blemish, she's been in unbelievable form, and it does appear her race to lose come Thursday. Right, the other feature on Thursday night is the running of the Flair Ladies Bracelet. This is race number 10 on the card at 8:41. Max Dancer comes up with the inside, been in solid enough form of late. Zabel Bale, though, the greyhound, we're going to take you back to have a look at. This is what she's capable of delivering. She's a really competitive greyhound. This is her in the pink rug here, able to make her way round to the lead and wins, beats a greyhound like Opawa Toddy. Rosso, she's got Bahama Queen drawn to her inside, which is never easy, but the best form of Zabel probably goes home a winner in the ladies' bracelet.
Yeah, it's probably about all I've got to say, Andy, because I'm exactly with you there. Bahama Queen is the concern, and outside of that, Zabel Bale looks very hard to beat. Look, it's a nice field with Max Dancer off the inside. She's, for us, looking to find a feat down in Canterbury again. Opawa Sweet out wide. All nice dogs. Von Strass in that particular race, Andy. We didn't even mention her in the Auckland Cup heats. That's how competitive they are, and Von Strass just going super of late, including a distance win on Tuesday. But Zabel Bale for me, but holding breath into the first bend.
Yeah, certainly will be nervous. If you're looking for an each-way play, perhaps Opawa Nat, she's currently at around $1.95 a place. Thought the wide draw ideal for her, and she looks a player as well. The Golden Chase well and truly underway now. We're through 3 weeks of the qualifying period, and Rosso making his way to the top of that board. M Grand Park with a 25.78 solo trial on Monday.
Yes, it looked good from the off. There were 3 solo trials, Andy. Big League Diva, unfortunately, not in the same sort of form that carried her into the Golden Chase final last year with a 26.55, and Did Lee coming back from injury with a 26.22. But M Grand Park looked to be going really well right from the off here, with nice opening split for him. And then just a touch over 18 through the second mark, and we knew that he was lined up for something pretty good, because we know his strength. He's a Group 2 660 winner on this track, and he's won the Manawatu Cup there as well. So, look, the match racing seems to set up very nicely for him. I think he's halved in quote in the Golden Chase market, and rightly so, because with 25.78 as fast as the track's running some weeks, Andy, that's going to have him in the top 8. You would think right through this series, another month of qualifying. Thrilling Rosa, the other move on Monday, with a race win that put her comfortably inside the top 8 for Karen Walsh.
Yeah, certainly an interesting market. Bolty's heading it at the moment, $4.50. What I would say is I spoke to Dan Lane. If he makes his way through to the final of the railway, which is looking like he should, he's going to get one chance to qualify. He's going to be taken up for one race day appearance at the Manawatu, so he's not going to get a solo trial if he does qualify for the railway sprint. So things could be a little bit interesting for your favourite there, and perhaps a little bit of value around a couple of others. Well, that's about all we've got time for here on DogZone. Rosso, big show next week as we look forward to the Auckland Cup, and we'll have Philippa Morris joining us on that show as well.
And an extended show too, as we do for the Auckland Cup and Railway. And Andy, look, regardless of what happens in the heats, and it's cutthroat stuff, there could be 1 or 2 surprises going through, but whatever happens, I think we can guarantee a couple of the best Group 1 races of the season, the way it's shaping up.
Going to be in a super day on Sunday. Tune in or get on course if you are in the area. We'll catch you next Wednesday alongside Philippa Morris to take you through the finals day out of Manukau Sports Bowl. But until then, happy punting.